The local residents of a tiny town in Georgia are fighting plans to erect a giant mosque there. And even though they say their complaint has nothing to do with religion, the Department of Justice has jumped into the case. The DOJ is also defending plans for mosques in other states as well. And while folks worry about the mosquing of America, there's also a fear of creeping Shariah, the slow but steady influence of Sharia Muslim law into America. A recent special on Fox News took a look at the rising number of cases of honor killings, including the story of a father who ran over his own daughter because she wouldn't go along with an arranged marriage. Joining me now is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy. Dr. Jasser, we're hearing more and more of Sharia law creeping into our society. Is there any evidence of that, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, the question is, Muslims are 1.5% of the population, so the question is where. I think Sharia is important to be aware of, because if you look at the UK, for example, there are over 80 functioning Sharia courts. Sharia is what Muslims consider to be our law, so there's personal Sharia that I think is not a threat, but then there's Sharia that's an instrument of political Islam, where Muslims want to develop a separate system where they have their own penal system, punishments, like you mentioned, in honor killings and other things, stoning and divorce systems where women get second and third class status. And we need to start using this as a teaching point to demonstrate that these are fault lines in the separation between the West and Eastern society, where Muslims need to advance our laws, to modernize and defeat the ideas of political Islam, or else they're going to continue to have separatist systems that are tools for radicalization, and terrorism is increasing in the West because of that radicalization.
Doc, I watched that special last night about that case of the Arizona family where the father ran over the daughter because of her unwillingness to partake in an arranged marriage. Have the U.S. courts, knowingly or not, begun to recognize cultural or religious Muslim laws when deciding cases here in the U.S.?
Well, Eric, the fault line, again, is political correctness. I was horrified here in Phoenix to see this court, the jury, come back with a second-degree aggravated assault verdict. You know, he was found guilty and he got 34 years, so yes, he got punished. But his mitigation of his punishment was exactly what would happen in Pakistan or in Jordan, in societies that say that, well, if a brother or a father commits an act out of rage because he was fulfilling the pride of the tribe or the family, then he should be mitigated. And that's exactly the special. But Bill Hemmer demonstrated and showed the audio where this was purely premeditated, but yet the jurors felt a little understanding of the culture or something where it wasn't first degree. That sent a bad message that no longer can we use our legal system in the West to push reform in the Islamist system.
Doc, we only have about 30 seconds, so very quickly, is that what the definition of creeping Sharia or Sharia creep is? It slowly kind of indoctrinates itself into society?
Well, I think what they're trying to say, I don't like the term that much, but what they're trying to say is that there's a threat where separate enclaves get set up where Muslims aren't subject to the greater law of the land, but rather to their own interpretation of Sharia, which is in the 15th century, and that creeps and affects society, and they use it in every method possible to separate from the greater law and have their own legal system which oppresses women and other things that need reform.
All right, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, thank you very much for staying up with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring it out to the panel. Let me start with you, Mark Lamont Hill. You're hearing it. You know, this case really.
You guys are downers, man.
No, look, it's a scary thing. A man ran over his own daughter because she wouldn't go over to Iraq and involve herself in an arranged marriage. I mean, and then he gets found on a second-degree murder charge, not on a first-degree murder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that should have been a mitigating circumstance. I think we have to consider culture and context in courts of law. I think we always have and always should. But I don't think that, you know, Sharia law should inform a decision in such a way that someone gets less time or a less severe sentence because they appeal to some religious tradition, which is violent. So, or at least some cultural tradition, which is violent. Okay. So, no, I think we might be on the same page when it comes to that. But I think it's dramatic and hyperbolic to say that we're having Sharia law creep into our culture. I mean, for God's sake, tonight you talked about social...
Is that unfair?
Yes.
Is that hyperbolic? Is this hyperbole, Didi, or is this happening?
You know, and how dare you, Mark, even think about that? Because, you know, Sharia law, any inching, millimeter, whatever, having anything to do with being able to stone women to death, be able to run over, to be able to treat us like dogs, how dare you even think about that this is even...
But I didn't say that.
Yes,
I'm saying it's not happening.
You said, oh, well, you know, maybe we should even consider it. No, this is wrong.
No,
it shouldn't
I didn't
be
say
in
that.
American society.
Let me be clear.
And it is
I didn't say that.
Go ahead, Mark.
treat
ahead.
women like that.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me be clear. I didn't say that. I said that I think it's wrong to allow that to inform a decision. However, I said we do need to consider culture in courts of law.
But
no,
it's not culture. It's torture.
But not. And I agree with you. I'm saying you are right. I'm saying the same thing you're saying. I'm saying Sharia law should not be permitted in courts of law as a mitigating factor.
Exactly.
We're saying the same thing.
Hang on, Bowen.
Can we hug now?
Yeah, well, you know what? We're on the same page.